Jim asked me to send that text. Why are you doing all these men's dirty work, Alexis? Because that's what you're doing on this show right now. You're doing John Janssen's dirty work.
Alexis's whole identity and value and worth comes from the men she's with. The relationship is everything. God, it's because she says her relationship above her kids. And just John being painted in any light that isn't perfect means she's not perfect because her value comes from the men. We gonna stir it up and do things our way. So if you wanna move, get out of our way. Hey.
Oh my gosh, we just have one more Monday left after this.
Oh my God. It's been such a, can you, obviously we're here talking about Orange County, and don't forget, if you want to hear us keep hearing us talk about these, make sure to subscribe and share.
Yes.
Just hit
yes.
that
In fact,
button.
we're over, when it comes to YouTube, we're over 700 subscribers now. You guys have like pulled through. We've got over 200 subscribers in just a month, the month of October. So again, that's why I really think we can reach 1,000 subscribers on YouTube by New Year's.
If we get enough, since it's a visual medium, I may need to invest in Botox. But first, you guys have to watch enough.
Yep. I got a gal.
Otherwise you're getting me as I am. So, but yeah. So what is this? Part 2 of the Orange County reunion?
Part 2. Yep.
I'm enjoying this reunion.
What?
I'm enjoying this reunion. It flows with the season.
It does. It does. Also, we were kind of talking a little bit offline in that, I mean, I feel like some people are like, oh, it's kind of boring. And I go, actually, for me, it's not. I feel like you said, it flows with the season. Also, they're not yelling the entire time. And sometimes that's problems I've had with other reunions. Like more recently, like the Miami, I love the franchise, but I've been hating the reunions because all they're doing is yelling over each other the entire time. Sometimes that's happened in later seasons of Atlanta too, yelling over each other the entire time. Another reason I'm excited Phaedra's coming back, because she just like, she shuts that shit down with her one-liners and I love it every day. But this one, there's fighting and then there's talking and there's fighting and then there's talking and there's recapping. And so it just, it brings these levels to it that allows you to allows your cortisol levels to drop a little bit, and then you can come back to it.
I feel like I noticed a pattern in this one, and I feel like all the women kind of count on each other coming back. Like they see it was a good season because in between stabbing each other, they keep pausing off camera to apologize and be like, we're okay, right?
I mean, yeah, you saw that with Heather and Shannon in the trailers on their lunch break. I was like,
even like a recent Beverly Hills, you feel like Kyle's taking off in her SUV alone and go to hell with all of them. These women keep being like, sorry, I said that. I had to say that. We're still friends, right?
Well, it kind of goes along with something that I said in the Heather Dubrow astrology episode that we released on Friday of that. And it's actually in the promo that we did for it, is that I think that Heather makes a better housewife than she did an actress, in the fact that like it acting wise, I think she had a hard time. She could never like truly connect with the characters. There was always something holding her back, which kind of held her back in some ways in her acting career. It's just my, astrological supposition, but it makes her a great housewife, because it allows that space in between, like how you really feel and what you're really showing, allows you to be manipulative and and so it makes you a really good housewife. And that's why I think it gives her a superpower in that sense.
She is aware of the show.
Yes.
We've talked about before how like sometimes I think Shannon loses track that she's being recorded, and it's like the women are basically like, this is our storyline. So she's like, no, like she loses track between real life and production, and Heather always knows. Tamara always knows.
Exactly. I agree. Well, let's get into it. I mean, they start back up where they left off, talking about Ryan and Jen. And
This has been such a legal course, this reunion this season, because we're not just getting they go into Ryan serving Tamara cease and desist. And everything about this we have Emily here who's playing like Judge Judy, like she's trying to interpret everything from a legal angle to like establish her. I guess that's her niche on the show.
I mean, finally, after what, like 5 or 6 seasons, she's like, I'm a lawyer now on the show.
She won't let you forget.
Nope. Not at all.
Yeah. Did you catch here's something I caught, because it opens with Tamara and Jen going at it, and it's about Eddie and Ryan and the cease and desist and stuff. And Jen says to Tamara, you were unfaithful to Simon. Yeah. Does Eddie hold that against you? Tamara didn't say a word.
She seemed shocked, like stunned that Jen said that, because also Jen said it in such a so this is why I was like taken a little bit aback. I was like, was that very calculated of Jen to say it? Or was it also like, we're friends and I've known you for so long, I'm having an honest moment with you. Oops, it's on camera. So I don't know, because I do think Jen, we've said this before, Jen is smarter than she appears. So I think a lot of people, like, she's not a ding dong like Emily called her, Gina called her. But because the way that Jen said it was like they're friends, like having a conversation of like, well, you cheated on Simon. Like, does Eddie hold that against you, thinking that you can't change as a person? And Tamara was just like, what are you saying?
Yeah, I mean, there had always been rumors about it. The fact that Tamara did not clap back, it was like, oh.
I mean, because if she had, I think probably Simon has receipts. There are probably receipts out there. And so she knows that if she tried to deny that one, people would come back with like, yeah, this happened. So.
Oh yeah, and that's the last thing she needs right now. Her ex coming out of look what we're dealing with, Jim Bellino, John Janssen. She knows not to go down that path in her own life.
I mean, she's had a hard enough time with Simon and that divorce over like the last like decade. So it's like, if we can just leave that alone, she probably just doesn't want to bring that up again.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh my gosh. But that was great.
They did go into another thing Jen said, which, I mean, obvious to the viewer, is that the women who are nice to Tamara are only nice to her because it's safer to be on her side than be her enemy. Like Taylor Armstrong in that meltdown. If you won't be my friend, please don't be my enemy. Yeah. It's true. She's dangerous. I mean, she's dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, that whole couch there, Emily and Heather, and Alexis, that's what they've decided. They've just decided that it is easier to be friends with her and to put up with some of her shit than to be her enemy. Yeah.
There's kind of like with Heather and Tamara, and they're more equals. It wasn't like, but it kind of reminds me of LVP and Brandy. Heather has the money, Heather has the housewives lifestyle, and Tamara gets her hands dirty for her. You know what I mean? They kind of balance. They're a yin and yang of scheming and evil, but I mean, it's kind of like Tamara. That's how because I don't think outside of the show they would normally mingle or be friends, but they have two one gets her hands dirty, one provides the perks. So
absolutely. Oh my gosh. It was a lot. And Emily kind of going after Jen some more. I just was like, we're over this. Let's not rehash this. But then, they brought up, why wasn't Jen more upset at Shannon for Shannon's part in background check gate. And I thought, Jen was just like, that didn't matter to me at that moment. It didn't matter. Like, I was mad at it. She basically said what a lot of us have been saying is that, like, Tamara was her friend. Shannon wasn't her friend at that time. Tamara was her friend. So that's what was important to her. And Shannon did apologize afterwards. And then when it came to like the apology for both, I think it was Jen and Gina for what Shannon had done in the past, Emily took credit for making Shannon apologize. And I was like, well, that's kind of bullshit. I mean, because it was like, we don't know whether Shannon would have apologized, whether you'd said something or not. Like, I don't think that you convinced Shannon to apologize, but we just won't know. We won't know either way. Like, I don't take credit for it. It would be better if she had just done it on her own.
I think I think what Emily's trying to do in this whole reunion in that moment, she's been inserting herself in everything, like kind of retroactively proving her worth this season.
Yeah.
Because this whole reunion, she talks more than anyone, and I think she's trying to prove that she served a purpose this season.
I think you're right. Because also, she could be one of those people like, oh, so much of my story or myself got cut out. So here's how I'm useful.
Yeah, because this is the audition for the next season, and she's been a reunion warrior. I mean,
and we've seen Tamara playing nice to keep her spot, like we said.
Yep. And Heather has gotten her hands dirtier. We'll get into that in a little bit, but I mean, so I think everyone here, honestly, I keep saying, I don't think they need changes.
Yeah.
I think solid.
I think so too. It's so funny because, there's so many people in our comments, especially on YouTube and on Instagram, saying that Heather needs to be fired, that Tamara needs to be fired. And I'm just like, no, that would be so boring. I was like, do I think that they need to be taken down a peg? Absolutely. But I don't think that they need to be fired. Like,
oh, absolutely. No. These shows are about, I like toxic luxury. These people are like, if we just got rid of all the bad people and we just had a supportive circle where they just read books and drank tea. No.
This isn't the Great British Baking Show. We've got the Great British Baking Show for a reason to counteract these type of shows. Like, that's not what this is.
Yeah.
There is when Tamara was let go, it had reached a certain toxicity level and it needed to change. We are not there yet. That is not where we are. And I am interested to see, what happens with this crew, if they can keep it. And also, like I said, I've done a 180 when it comes to Alexis staying on. I would rather her stay on as a friend next season because I want to see what the F happens. Like, she bugs the crap out of me, but I want to see this because as I've talked before, we can't see everything that happens off camera or anything like that. Like, there are rules, even though they're not union, they can't film 24/7. That's not what they signed up for. It's not what they're getting paid for. Even the crew can't film 24/7. So that's why off camera interactions happen. That's why off camera conversations happen. But that's also why they have to keep certain things and wait for them to happen on camera, which is really funny. And they're like, you waited till on camera. It's like, well, yeah, they waited till on camera because you would get mad if they had this off camera,
right?
And you didn't see it, like,
right. That's something that actually that what you just said helps clear up a point that was brought up a lot between the other women were pointing out between Heather and Tamara, where Heather justified her friendship with her as we're historical friends, because they were trying to imply that they're not friends off the show, which is true, but production discourages you from socializing off season because they don't want anything to happen that wasn't caught. They don't want to have to open the season explaining something that happened 2 months ago off camera. So they are encouraged to keep everything on camera and keep their interactions to that.
I mean, this is probably me just trying to connect dots. But you know how both Heather and Tamra, and maybe, no, I don't think Vicky said this. I could be wrong though. But Heather and Tamara said that Shannon cut them out or stopped talking to them when they stopped being on the show.
Mhm.
And there's like, maybe not so much with Heather because I just don't think they get along. But with Tamara, I wonder if there was maybe a conversation of like, well, Tamara's probably coming back. So
Mm.
let's not talk too much about this stuff. But that could be me reaching. That could just be my imagination going. Do you know
Mhm.
what I mean? But like there could
Yeah.
be, and Shannon could be like, well, I can't necessarily say that now, because Shannon's going to hold up her end of holding up the fourth wall.
Yeah.
But who knows? I don't know. That's probably the main thing.
Mhm.
But sorry, speaking of 180s, I do want to talk about Emily and Heather and their like wonderful relationship, because that's a 180 from the beginning of the season when Emily was so pissed off that Gina was up Heather's ass, like
Mhm.
to try to save her. And now we see like, oh my gosh, I actually think that not Gina, Emily's fake tan is from Heather's, booty hole. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like that's how far up she is up there. Like, Jesus Christ. It's insane. It's just
She's
insane.
Yeah, she's totally pivoted. I guess that means then she sees Heather as the power.
Mhm.
They all this show by the reunion it's split into two camps or three. Um, Emily's always been kind of mid pack, and now she's found her new alpha, her new
Mhm.
supreme to answer to.
She's like a Gretchen Wiener, isn't she?
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
she is. She's
Yeah.
really kind of like. By the way, they even like now they went into I mean, yeah, they even went into we had two dress situations coming up. But remember for episodes, Emily was like in shambles over Heather and the fashion show and the comments and the way
Mhm.
it was like a 45-second discussion here. Emily has let it go.
Well, because now she feels accepted. Because
Mhm.
now, because it was before, it was an ego blow that, like, I'm not accepted. I'm not in the cool girl group.
Mhm.
Regina George doesn't like me. Like, but now Regina George's son shines on me, so I feel okay and I feel
Yeah.
empowered. So that's what that is to me.
Heather was like, "Get in, loser. We're going to my penthouse." She finally got it. But the other dress situation, I had strong feelings about this. Was it Katie who accused Heather of being a mean girl for looking at the price tag of a dress she saw on the rack?
Yeah.
It was
Mhm.
Katie who was trying to make Heather called it out. She said, "You're trying to make something here." I
Mhm.
agree.
Yeah.
I like the distinction they drew. It's gossipy. It's
It
not.
is gossipy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did find it hypocritical because I agree. I think it is gossipy. I don't think it's necessarily mean girl behavior because I think you would just like look and especially I agree. Like Heather knows fashion. She would be like, that's a Dolce dress. Like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh. Because I thought of you. I was like, this is what Jordan would like knows. Actually, you also looked up the dress. You knew. You knew how much
I
that dress was. You
reckon
were like texting us.
episodes ago, I mentioned on here, I recognize the dress. It's been making its rounds
Mm-hmm.
in these kind of housewife circles. And I was like, it may be Sutton, someone wore it. And then, yeah, absolutely. I watched
Mm-hmm.
to look up all the prices. I want to
Mm-hmm.
know. I saw
Yeah.
I saw in a flashback during this episode from earlier in the season, a Louis Vuitton dress Heather was wearing. I'm like, I know someone who wore that dress. So I
Mm-hmm.
was
Yep.
like, I mean,
Yep.
this is why I watch. So
Nope. Well, that's the thing is that, like, people are gonna do that, and I think it is gossipy, and it is just, like, looky-loo, and especially, "Oh, hello, you're in Orange County, come on." However, I thought it was hypocritical, though, of Heather, at least going back at Katie because, like, "Oh, so it's, like, just gossip," when Heather kind of goes out of her way to look at a dress, you know, how much a dress costs or whatever, and tell all the other girls that that's what it costs to like point a finger at what Jen is spending her money on. But it's not gossipy for Katie to like look into a scandal that was happening the season before she came in, the paparazzi scandal, and then talk about it on camera to try to like gain entry into and make a name for herself on the show that she is just joining. I think it's not exactly a false equivalency. It's not like apples to apples, but they're both fruit. Like they're both gossipy things that were used as part of a storyline that didn't have to be as big as they were. Heather made it bigger.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, this was in the middle of the season. Heather's shopping and she's Katie spent months, I would argue years, because I believe she's been circling, collecting housewife associates, trying to get her foot in the door. And this has been a long project for her. And to act like Heather seeing a dress in a store she normally shops at, it was at Neiman's, or I think she said Neiman's at South Coast. And Katie has been prepping for Housewives like she's studying for the SATs. I mean, it's very clear. So to act like she's not calculated and everything is genuine in the moment.
Yeah. But most of these women aren't like
right.
So it's not like we're saying that Katie's the worst. We're just saying like Katie's playing the game. She knew 80% of what she was getting into. I do think that there is a percentage that a lot of newbie housewives think they know exactly what's going on, and then once they're in it, they're like, oh, okay. Because there's some stuff you can't know just from being on the outside when it comes to reality TV production and the fame and the fans and everything like that. But I think she knew as much as she could. So yes. Yeah. I wrote down something about Tamara said it's a joke, but no one's laughing. And I can't remember what she said was a joke before. And now I don't know what it was. But this is my thing. Whenever you just have to go, it was a joke. Well, then that doesn't mean anybody found it funny.
If you have to explain it, it's probably not funny.
Yeah, exactly. But then it goes to Jen being either like the most genuine housewife we've ever seen or the most iconically natural at dropping bombs. When she talked about her lunch with Heather and Heather called Tamra a historical friend. My jaw hit the floor. I was like, because Tamra was like, head turn. Like,
yeah. That's a distinction. Not a close friend, not a best friend, not even a friend. Historical meaning there's like we have so much context. History. I'm obligated to be your friend.
And Heather was like, I don't talk like that. And it was like, excuse me, yes, you do. You absolutely talk like that.
Yeah.
You would call somebody historical friend. Also, she goes, no. And all I could hear was Bryn from Roni mocking Uba, going no, and I was like, now look, those both happened in vacuums, like both of those no's, but they sounded exactly alike. So I think like anybody who's watching both of those shows will be like, oh my gosh, it's so mocking, it's so terrible. So the fact that like Heather did that, like if you don't like Bren, which yeah, it's like no, it's so fucking condescending. Like no.
She Heather, you could tell she was angry because she lost control with her finger. I mean, she's been accused of it all season. It's been pointed out that she points at people. It was even a joke with the etiquette coach in London. She could not. She was angry. Yeah,
because it was true.
Oh, and by the way, fun fact, I saw online, so I don't remember who, someone dug up a clip of Heather Dubrow on a podcast where they asked her, this was from way before this season, like a couple of years ago. They asked her what ex-housewife maybe would she like them to bring back? And she's saying Alexis, we have, with our kids in common. And she goes, I think she said, we're historical friends. She used the term historical.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Man. Oh my gosh. And then sorry, Jen also calls out Tamara's low blows. Everybody kind of like agreed. There's like, you go like super low. And then of course Tamara's like, well, I'm going to therapy, And you could just tell, I mean, like Shannon and Jen do not buy it. They're like, no.
Yeah. I mean, when they do housewives therapy, like remember Bethany did that on her spinoff and stuff. I don't really, it's like, I want her to go through therapy on camera, Tamara, as proof, because no one fully buys it. And also but it's hard to capture because true therapy, they're not going to, it's like, you're going to get Jack's tears.
It's exactly
Tamara
what I was
tears. But I was like, I would kind of like, if you could get some raw hidden camera one, I'd love to get inside Tamara. Like, Tamara's fine. But
you're sick, because I wouldn't. No. Keep me out. Unsubscribe.
Oh, another thing that they brought up, which I saw some people say it was a gang up, and I think what they were doing was hazing her into her place and explaining to Katie how housewives work. The kids. When it got into the kids, I saw some people being like, they were all upset. Even Shannon yelled at Katie over her daughter's TikTok. She said, if my daughter did that, I would tell her to what the F, like everyone. And I think it wasn't the damage that TikTok did, because who cares? It's that she needs to understand she's not Teresa Giudice. We don't know her. You're a newbie. Kids are supposed to be off limits, and they really do try to keep it that way. It's like your 19, 20-year-old daughter isn't Gia or Melania. They're not part of the show, and you are dragging them into something you don't want to get them involved in.
Yeah.
I think like they were obviously angry, but I also think it was kind of like a warning. Like,
yeah, I guess I felt, I mean, without me having kids, I was kind of like I agreed. I mean, I felt like probably her TikTok went too far, but I also agreed with Katie. It was like, she's an adult. I can't stop certain things. So, but I also was like, I guess being like Gen X and having boomer parents, like my parents still shamed me for stuff like they still shame me for stuff on the internet now. And now I'm like, at least in my 40s, I'm like, I don't give a fuck. But in my 20s, I still would care. Does that make sense? Like, like it's kind of like the way that you're raised. Like I would just be like, oh no, I don't want to disappoint my parents. But it's just a different raising style. So it kind of was like 50-50. I was like, yeah, we don't bring the kids into it. I just found it very, very messy. But I also find what's interesting though is that, because it was something I changed my mind about, because in earlier episodes, when it comes to like the Emily's twins telling Kylie about, not their mom, Heather being mean to their mom and all that stuff. I was like, oh no, I don't think Emily would do that. And then I was like, no, wait a minute. She would do that. Like, or inadvertently would do that. Like you talk around your kids. Like you just end up knowing things as a child about your parents' friends, because the amount of times like you just creep around trying to hear your parents' conversations as a child, like you do that. I mean, hello. And kids remember everything. But then now we've got what look like receipts, if we're to believe what's being put on social media, that a former nanny of Emily's has reached out to Kylie and was like, hey, yes, Emily did talk about these women in front of her children. And in fact, Annabelle would look up stuff online about her mom and then show it to Emily. So, like, yes, I can believe that her children would say these things to Kylie. And I was like, so there you kind of go. Like, and I actually don't disagree that maybe Tamra thought it was kind of funny. I think she kind of was like, this could go one of two ways, and I'm gonna see what she thinks of it. Because because Emily needs Gretchen Wiener needs Regina Heather George, to like her. That's why she was like, I have to I have to lie and defend myself. So I think all of the children of all of these women know way too much about the other cast members. Than the actual cast members would like to admit that their children know.
With Heather, I think her anger comes from too. You have to look at the big picture, which is where I think her refusal to tolerate Katie is coming for. Right off the bat, this woman she doesn't know comes with a portfolio, a dossier of things she's dug up against her. So from right there, she feels everything comes with bad intentions. And now Katie's kids, who have not met Heather, are on camera. I think Heather feels Katie put her kids up to this. I know Katie denies that she was involved in the kids' TikTok or the kids. I think that's where I'm saying, from Heather's perspective, I would be on guard and I would be like, nothing you do seems innocent. Why do your kids who have never, that's where I was going with the Teresa thing. It's not like Teresa, whose kids have grown up with this show. Some of them are relatives, the Housewives. These are just kids who've never met the Housewives and they have very strong opinions about them. Like, where is it coming from? Like, did she put her little kids or her daughter up to it? So, I mean, I don't know if I'm not saying that Katie's lying, but I'm saying I see Heather's perspective. Like, I
see Heather's perspective. I see that perspective if it's Heather's perspective, but I also see like younger kids, they're just gonna defend their mother. You know what I mean? No matter what. So if they feel that their mother's been slighted without knowing everything that's going on or being able to even see their parent as a human being, like, they're just going to blindly defend their parent. So even like the twins are going to blindly defend their mother, Emily. You know what I mean? So I feel like, but I agree with what you're saying. Like, I agree with what you're saying. I just think I think this is Housewives. They're all just caught up in their own little fucking world. So
right.
It's all about them.
This isn't a trial this is a trial. The reunions are a trial. The audience we're watching it, putting them on trial. But there's no guilty verdict because everyone's guilty. It's a celebration of their toxicity, an appreciation, a roast. We're just calling it out.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I mean, we got something else. Should we
just move on to it?
Yeah. Someone returned. The future Mrs. Alexis Bellino Janssen.
Oh my gosh. Again, she was saying to Tamara, she was like, all these lies, like, the truth will come out. And it was like, what are the lies though? They haven't even told us what the lies are that he's defending himself against.
Right.
This isn't a defamation case.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because I was trying to think. I'm like, Alexis can speak on it. John can speak on it. It's Shannon who, as Andy advised her not to repeat things because she's the one being sued. But Alexis, her hands are pretty clean, or not clean. Her hands aren't tied, yet she still will not say what these lies are. It's just vague impressions inside her head.
And in fact, like, I forget exactly what I should have written it down, but who cares? Shannon, I mean, no. Tamara tells her not to be John's mouthpiece. And then she's like, I'm not John's mouthpiece. Da, 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 da. And then when she gets on stage, she says something. And Emily was like, that's exactly what John said. And then they cut to to the confessional and John saying the exact same thing. They're like,
It was that Shannon has a strange relationship with the truth.
thank you.
That
I
was the
knew you.
line.
Yep. And it's so funny because this is the one thing though Emily could sit on the other couch for, because she is not having any of Alexis. She is nope, nope, nope,
Yeah.
nope. She does not trust anything that comes from Alexis and John Janssen. She is very anti that. So she could go sit on the other couch for that. In fact, I would love it if she just was like, you know what? I can't sit over here for this. Let me go over here.
They used to do that once in a while. If you brought out one, they'd like ask you to move or scoot over. They could have put Jen on this side because Jen's fairly neutral, and then moved Emily over to the firing squad for Alexis.
It was interesting that Andy brought up her religion, right, kind of like right off the bat, about how like it was very important. And then she was like, I don't like to talk about religion. It's just like more about like, and she's spouting off this stuff. Gina like rolled her eyes, was like, her eyes got really big, was like, what are you talking about? And there's a part of me that wonders, without getting like too into like what's been happening over the last couple of weeks, but like if that was like, because we can also see Alexis's tweets. If that was kind of like a calculated, I don't know which way the election is going to go, so I don't want to say too much. I'm being honest here, because this is also, I've said it before, Orange County is heavily Republican. It is, and it's conservative, and it's very Christian area of Southern California. So I just wonder if she was like kind of like threading the needle there, because not knowing that this was going to air after the election, of like, let me just try to keep, because people didn't like, some people would love and some people would hate like how Christian she was her first go around. So like, let me try to like tamp that down until after, let's see what happens on November 6th. So that's what I kind of wonder, and so, but I just found it funny. Like Gina was like, what are you saying? Like, come on. You keep talking about Johnny J being a good Christian boy. Like, we know you, come on.
Do you catch what Alexis said? So it goes, they have that back and forth. Oh, wait, no, hold off. Before we get into that, let's get into, they dove into, there's the door, Shannon Beador.
I love it. With receipts.
They rolled the footage.
They did. They rolled the fucking footage. I mean, we all knew it in our hearts that had been rehearsed. We could feel it. We were like, this is not authentically in the moment. And then, of course, it was shown, especially because Emily was there. Emily knew it. She was like, I saw you do that.
And I think, was it Shannon who pointed out it doesn't really rhyme, or what was she? Oh no, what Shannon said was there wasn't a door. You'd been
you practiced this whole thing for that wasn't even a door there.
I started thinking about other ones we could do, like there's the window, Shannon. No, wait, there's the window, Heather Dubrow. Like, I don't know.
Well, I did find it interesting, as when Alexis got out there, it was almost an entire segment. It wasn't really 5 minutes, but it felt like 5 minutes, that there was different conversations, and Shannon just sat there quiet, taking it all in. Her eyes were kind of big. She was just like listening and just waiting. She was like, I'm not going to talk until I absolutely have to, which I found very surprising and refreshing from Shannon. She was not being messy all over the place. She was like, I was like, I think therapy is actually working for Shannon.
She's in the game. She's coming from a place of strength, and she was letting she was giving Alexis enough rope to hang herself, as they say.
Yes.
She was not reacting. She was not reacting. She
because she did it. I mean, she just, there was something I actually was watching. If people know who Dr. Romani is on YouTube, like, then you'll know what I'm talking about. Dr. Romani is a narcissism expert, and she is a doctor. But there was a video that she put up just a couple of days ago. You can easily find it. And it was, but as I was listening to the video, I was like, oh my God, this is John Janssen, because it was about a different type of love bombing. And I was like, okay, what is this type of love bombing? And it basically is a type of love bombing where you triangulate people. When somebody like that you're interested in all of a sudden starts going, you're so different from my ex, you're so much better, like basically starts comparing you to somebody that you don't know, or tangentially, to like make you seem, or like maybe they're dating multiple people and they say like, oh, you're different from this person or that person, but that's what John Janssen does. And I kind of said it before, but not really knowing that, like, oh, I bet if we went back to when he first started dating Shannon, he probably talked smack about his exes and was like, oh, you're so much better than this ex, you do things different. And that's what he does with Alexis, is that he's probably feeding her all this stuff about how she's so much better and she's so different and all these things. And it's a different way too, to make Alexis be his mouthpiece and do his dirty work for him. Because also I go a little bit, Alexis, when they're talking about the defamation case with Shannon, Tamara, and Jim Bellino, and that whole text, the smoking gun text, of course, Alexis is doubling down that it was that Shannon's lying because it wasn't an actual cease and desist. Shannon was thinking it was a cease and desist when it was actually a text message. Basically, semantics, whatever. You were also an interested party in the original case. So she's kind of conflating the two. But this is the thing. Alexis is like, Jim asked me to send that text. Why are you doing all these men's dirty work, Alexis? Why? Because that's what you're doing on this show right now. You're doing John Janssen's dirty work. You're being his mouthpiece. You're doing his dirty work, defaming Shannon, like trying to make Shannon look like a liar and Shannon look crazy. She can do that all on her own. Like she doesn't really need you or John Janssen to make her look bad if she wants to. But why are you doing his work? You did because that's what you do? Because you do men's dirty work for them? Because that's apparently what you did for your ex-husband. That's what it looks like. If we're to believe what you said, oh, I just do what these men tell me to do.
I think part of it, and like, sorry, I was just thinking about what we had just said with this. What is the lie that she keeps complaining about that Shannon's put out about John Janssen? And that mixed with what you just said about doing the lie is that, and it's not I'm not saying it's a lie. In Alexis's head, Shannon has Alexis's whole identity and value and worth comes from the men she's with. The relationship is everything. God, it's because she says her relationship above her kids. And just John being painted in any light that isn't perfect means she's not perfect because her value comes from the men.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. And also in another way that she's kind of taking the fall is that, with the videos that who knows if they exist or not, she's the one who brought them up on camera during that Big Bear trip. And they continue to be brought up. And then they're saying that like, oh, Johnny didn't even want those brought up, da, da, da. And she's like, oh, that was my bad. That was my mistake, da, da, da. Seems like a lot of backtracking. This seems like, oh, this blew up in their face because now they don't want an extortion suit, or extortion charges brought against them. And so it's backtracking, but instead of like John saying, I'm sorry, or this isn't what we were intended, it's Alexis saying, oh, I messed up. I messed up. It was in the heat of the moment. No, it wasn't. We've seen unseen footage now of you talking about it multiple times before, like later on when you're all in your onesies and drunk and stuff like that. So no.
Yeah.
Like these guys are going to get you in trouble. Like, are you going to be a drug mule next? I don't know.
Did you catch when Alexis was trying to spin that original text she sent to Shannon over the Jim Bellino lawsuit many years ago, where she now says she sent that trying to protect the women and warn them they might get sued?
She contradicted herself almost in the same sentence. Like, yeah, she said that. And then she's like, but I'm not a part of it.
Oh, and then she says to Shannon, because Shannon's like, I won that lawsuit. Like, F you. Like, I didn't defame him. And and Alexis goes, well, you spent like $500,000 on your legal fees. Maybe you should have just settled.
Mhm. And she's
Like,
like, "But I didn't do anything wrong." And she go and then she's like, "I won that suit." And then Alexis and they're all like, "She won. She won." And
mhm,
even Tamara's like, "She didn't defame him." And then Alexis is like, "Well, I don't know. I don't know exactly what happened." It's like, "Well, you're acting like you know. You're
yeah.
trying to act like Emily right now, like you know everything and you know the law and stuff like that." I was like, "What are you doing then? If you don't know anything, like she's only parroting she is parroting what John Janssen has told her, what Jim has told her. There's no like of her actually looking into these things, these
Mhm,
claims, these lawsuits, and finding out what's really happening because it is just what she's being told
yeah.
by these guys that are truthfully just I saw, oh my God, somebody sent it. Oh, my friend Alexa, fan of the pod, one of our ride or dies. She sent this to me, and I was like, "Don't you ever send me a TikTok with a shirtless Jim Bellino ever again." But it was shirtless Jim Bellino on TikTok saying that he was going to go live and answering women's dating questions because apparently most of his followers are women and they want to know stuff. And I was like, "Don't you? That's disgusting. I'm going to vomit." I was like, "Do not give this man. I will not give him any like who." Don't ask that man for any dating advice. He's disgusting. Come on. And that's just my personal opinion. It's an opinion.
Oh yeah, let's preface that since it's him.
Yes.
It's him. It's like he reminds me of, I don't know if you guys remember very early OC, Tammy Knickerbocker's
Husband, creepy husband.
ex-husband. Yeah,
Yeah.
Lou
Lou.
Knickerbocker.
Yeah.
And he was, because I was gonna make a joke and be like, Jim Bellino feels to me like maybe his next reality show could be one of those like TLC ones where he goes to get like a bride from another country. I won't
Mm.
describe the circumstances or transaction. I'm just saying that I feel like that's the kind of girl he should date because he likes a subservient.
Mhm.
So basically, I would say, yeah, what horrible advice is he giving out to women on how to get a guy
Yeah.
like him?
Well, and yeah, yeah. I just was like, don't ever. She was like, I'm sorry. I was like, I'm just being dramatic, but like, but at the same time, don't ever send that to me ever again.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see Jim Bellino giving me dating advice. Like, oh my gosh.
Mhm.
But I just, it takes everything in me. I'm like the kid on like the kid in the marshmallow experiment from like the 70s and 80s when it comes to not looking at social media on Thursday nights because I have
Mhm.
Peacock and like having to watch this on Friday on Peacock because I'm just like, oh, I want to know what people are saying.
Yeah.
Ah. But I can't wait. I mean, we're just gonna go right at least into part 3 with like Shannon just reading Alexis. I mean,
Mhm.
because I just hope she's just reading her for filth because yeah.
I was watching it trying to figure out where, because we're all trying to figure out if Alexis is coming back or not. What are her chances? And so my indicator, I was looking to Andy to see how he handled it. Because Andy, if he doesn't like you, he can be very dismissive. He can
Mhm.
roll his eyes and look the other way. And he was kind of fixated on Alexis. He lit up when I mean, he knew it would be good TV, but even when Shannon, which was a fourth wall breaker, but she put her in her place. Shannon said, "Aren't you a friend? You can go."
Mhm.
Oh my God, she got her own "You could please leave" moment in full
Mhm.
circle. But Andy with his eyes on Alexis kind of was like, no, she's talking right now. She's not going. And so
Mhm.
I was like, it's because remember, like, Andy's talked about and written about being in the middle of a reunion and knowing a housewife's not coming back just from
Yep.
there. He kept his eyes on Alexis. So I mean, that's all we won't know for a while. The reunion's still airing. None of the casting happens till later or
Yeah.
decisions. But Alexis has a chance. I think Frenda. I don't think full time.
I'm not putting anything past him. You know what I mean? Like earlier in the season, I was like, yeah, no full time, but now I don't. Granted, she has said that she won't come back unless it's full time, but I think my opinion is she's so desperate. She would like do it because like she said, I've been on TV. I've had a career for 15 years. And I was like, girl, where have you been for the last 10 years?
I went into her IMDb this morning because it haunted me, those 5 things. So there was obviously Real Housewives of Orange County. A couple credits don't count, like Tamara's Wedding spinoff is part of the show. So Real Housewives of Orange County, Below Deck, she did an episode, which by the way, you pay to be on Below Deck.
Yes, you do.
That doesn't count. We could do it. If you guys rate and review, subscribe, and follow, maybe one day. No, but you pay to be on Below Deck. That is something you want to do. And yeah. So anyways, Housewives, Below Deck. She had a marriage boot camp. She had a marriage boot camp. And then she had a cameo on General Hospital in 2014. I think that's the tail end of our Housewives era.
Oh, I remember she was up for Hot in Cleveland, and that was a whole big fight with her and Heather.
Yeah. So there's that. So that is her. I was laughing when Shannon goes, "Oh, you're such a you're a TV star."
Everybody laughed at that. She was like, "Oh, you're like." Shannon has zingers there. Like she has not some Phaedra Parks like zingers, but she's got some zingers there when she is heated about stuff. She's like, ah, oh my god.
She was in that moment. It was so condescending, which I love, and she was looking at Alexis like a stupid piece of trash. Oh, good for you. You have that's 4 cameos.
That's the way she feels about her. I mean, I think that's the thing is that it's not. And I think that's the problem is that I do believe Shannon in that it is more upsetting that this woman whose ex-husband sued her and that she was a part of took $300,000 from her versus she's dating and now is engaged to my ex-boyfriend. Like, I think that hurts. That's just more like the cherry on top of like the $300,000. But I think it's a little bit more of like, I'm being put in a situation where I'm like, I feel legally at risk with this person being near me, you know, and I'm not wrong to feel that way because her current partner now is suing me. So again, I am legally at risk with this person who keeps showing up. And that is more insulting to me. Like, my money is a lot more important to me than my heart at the moment because men come and go. But this money I want. Like, so I feel that is true. That's like, don't fuck with my money.
Right. And this is like, God, the risk of being put into that much, I can't imagine. So she spent $300,000 on her defense. Now, even if she pays the $70,000, if he goes for his legal fees, and this $70,000 dispute could, if she were to lose, could end up easily costing her like another couple $100,000 with the settlement. If he pushes, and we know he will, he's not a gentleman. John Janssen will also want her to pay his legal fees. I mean,
he's in my opinion a dickhead because that's what he's done. She's offered to settle, but he doesn't want to pay. He doesn't want to include a mutual non-disparagement agreement. Mutual. Because it's all over some, lies that we don't even know what these lies are that she's been spreading. And again, everybody says it. We've said it on here. Other people say it, that people didn't think this badly about John Janssen until this season, until he's decided to sue Tamara. Like, so you have made it worse for yourself, sir. Nobody's going to like you. Nobody's really, like, all of America, like, pretty much hate. Even if people hate Shannon Beador, they still hate you.
Yeah.
Like, they do. Like, even if people people, even you who does not like Shannon Beador, like, and doesn't like the coddling of her, you don't like John Janssen either. Like, you're like, this is shady. This is
he's skeezy. And remember, I saw him in person. I saw him, and like Alexis walked in. It's like, yay! Oh, like a throwback. And then I saw him. I was like, ugh. I didn't even bother. I didn't approach.
Yeah. So it just, I think that's why she's like so mad. And Alexis is just the representation of that right there.
Yeah.
And anyway, I feel like I had something else to say about it, but I've lost it. And so who cares? Whatever. It's just me ranting now.
Well, we still have part 3 to look forward. I'm glad this is getting 3 parts. It's a nice reunion.
Yeah. And this week we have Beverly Hills starting.
Oh my God. It is true.
So we'll have Beverly Hills.
Oh boy.
Yes. So Beverly Hills will be coming out on another day. We'll figure that out, and make sure you're following our socials so that you know. Oh, and real quick before Jordan goes into the social spiel, we are on Blue Sky now too. So if you are making an exodus from Twitter/X, you can find us at Pretty Corrupt Pod, because they won't let us do podcast, but I got Pretty Corrupt Pod on Blue Sky. So if you're there, find us there. It's in our link tree too.
Yeah. Make sure to hit us up on Instagram, where we're adorable. TikTok. I never called it X, so I still say Twitter.
Yeah.
And make sure to rate, review, subscribe, follow. Emphasis on the subscribe, because then you don't have to do anything. Our episodes just drop right in your phone. They're just waiting for you.
Yeah.
Like a cease and desist on your doorstep.
and if you do it on YouTube, same thing. And especially if you hit that if you subscribe, then they're right there when you like pull up your homepage. And if you hit the little bell and you get a notification, get notified every time too. So yeah, absolutely. Again, we're trying to hit 1,000 by New Year's.
On that note, I don't know what to say. Who wants to say bye?
You do.
Adios.